In our last session, we have started planning and we completed the first few portions, and just we started the steps of planning, 2 points. Also, 2 steps also we have discussed. So now we will move towards the process. Where is the process? Okay. So first of all, we have to set one objective. That is the first step of planning. We have to set the objective, that what is the purpose of my planning, that I have to know. So every organization must be having some objective or goal, and to attain that goal, what they have to do, they have to form they have to make some plans so that they can attain that particular objective or accomplish that particular uh, objective. That was the first step. And the next step was developing premises that planning is concerned with the future, which is uncertain. We don't know about the future. So every planner is using conjecture uh, about what might happen in future. So we are trying to anticipate what other things can happen in future. Developing premises. So for future, we are trying to anticipate, and therefore the manager is required to make certain assumptions about the future. Such an assumption. Why we are making such assumptions? So that we will be able to handle the future problems, any situation. Not always it will be problem, but if there are some kinds of changes, so we have to adopt those changes or how to cope up with those changes, so that we have to predict. So first of all, what we have to do, we have to know the objective, and after that we have to means we have to get some idea about future. We have to create some kind of assumptions about the future. So that means we are interested to be little bit precaution. We want to take some kind of precaution, we can say, that so that whatever the circumstances that can arrive in future, we will be able to handle those problems, or any changes that will happen in future, that we will be able to handle. But these all the things will not be means very clear to us, because future is always unpredictable. So these assumptions are called premises. So assumptions are thus the base material upon which plans are to be drawn. The base material may be in the form of forecast. So forecasting we do that these things will happen. So forecasts existing plans or any past information about policies. So when we have certain previous experience, so with the help of that also we can judge what can happen in future, because we have certain experience that if we are going to adopt this particular way, so what other things can happen. Maybe we faced some problem in past, so accordingly we have to plan now, so that again we don't have to face such problems. So these things will help me out to avoid the problems that can happen in future. So the base material may be in the form of forecasts, existing plans, or any past information about policies. The premises or assumptions must be the same for all, and there should be total agreement on them. All managers involved in planning should be familiar with and use the same assumptions. Like the people who are involved in making such kind of plans. So if all of them are aware of the whatever the assumptions that we are going to take, whatever the premises that we will be adopting, or so that should be known to everyone. Hmm? that others means few people will know and others will not know. So on the basis of what they will move. For example, forecasting is important in developing premises as it is a technique of gathering information. So we are gathering some information. So forecasts can be made about the demand for a particular product. So that kind of forecasting we can make, like that in future these products are going to be uh, demanded by the customers, that in future people will be interested for this. How we are predicting? On the basis of current situation, we are predicting that in future we may like these kinds of things. Now forecasts, after that some policy change, that also we predict that these kinds of policy will be taken in future, as because this is the situation, current situation. So maybe some policy will come. And interest rate, we see that the interest rate is going down and in future also it will go down. So on the basis of that we can predict maybe interest rate is increasing or decreasing, whatever there are changes. And what sort of the trend, if we know the trend from the analysis of this particular trend, we can predict then in future it will continue. So on the basis of that we can make some certain assumptions. Prices of capital goods, tax rate, all these things. So the capital goods, prices of capital goods is increasing or decreasing. So what should I do if it increases in future? So these things we are considering. Accurate forecasts therefore become essential for successful plans. If your forecasting is very good, accurate, so your plan will be successful. Then comes identifying alternative course of action. Once objectives are set, assumptions are made. The objective was this, and after that we have done some means we have taken some data from past, lot of trains and train analysis we have done, and after that we have come to a conclusion that these things could happen in future. Then the next step would be to act upon them. There may be many ways to act and achieve objectives. So there are different ways. So if you want to reach a particular destination, there are a lot of ways. Like when in the in Google also, if you search, sometimes they're showing that if you go by bus, it will go by car, it will be like this. If you go by two-wheeler, it will take this much of time. If you go by means if you walk, then it will take this much of time. Or if there are two ways, they will show that this is the shortest one. So here also there will be a lot of ways. What we have to do? So these means are these ways are what? These ways are alternatives. So we have different alternative course of action, and that we need to identify. First of all, we have to identify that these are the ways. Now what to do? We have to select the best one. So an innovative course may be adopted by involving more people and sharing their ideas. If the project is important, then more alternatives should be generated and thoroughly discussed amongst the members of the organization. So we have to develop sorry, we have to develop different types of alternatives to reach our destination, and we have to analyze all these alternatives. We have to discuss about the alternatives. We have, first of all, we have to generate lot of alternatives. That is the first thing. After that, the next thing is evaluation. Then we have to find out. We have to find out the benefits and what are the positive things or what are the negative things, advantages, disadvantages are there. with each and every alternatives that we have to know. So the pros and cons should be known to us. The next step is to weigh the pros and cons of each alternative. Each course will have many variables which have to be weighed against each other. Positive and negative aspects of each proposal need to be evaluated. So different ways are there. What we have to do, every ways we have to measure, means what are the pros and cons. If I choose this one, will I be benefited? The benefit is whether the benefit is equal to the benefit. If I choose the next one, so which one is better? Where I will be getting more benefit? So that I have to measure. So the pros and cons, whatever the variables are there, that we have to compare, we have to measure what are the risk and return, what and the risk and return trade-off that is there. So that we have to do trade-off between risk and return. So the more risky the investment, sometimes we find that means in most of the cases, if you want to get more return, so the risk will be high. And just the opposite case is also there. So according to your need, you have to take the risk. To evaluate such proposal, detailed calculation of earning per share, interest, tax, dividends, all these things we have to calculate. And what we are doing after that, we have to take the decision. Alternatives are evaluated in the light of their feasibility and consequences also. So feasibility means whether this particular project is actually possible, really it is possible to complete. So whether it is feasible or not, that also we measure. We do the analysis, and what will be the consequences. We have to select an alternative. Which one we have to select? The best one. This is the real point of decision making. The best plan has to be adopted and implemented. The ideal one, most feasible, most profitable, the least negative, project or the way that is having the least negative consequences, that we need to choose. Most plans may not always be subjected to a mathematical analysis. In such cases, subjectivity and managers' experience, judgment, at times, intuition play an important part in selecting the most viable alternative. Like sometimes, means all the times, if I just give importance to the mathematical analysis or statistical analysis of this, so not always we can depend on all this, but some experience is also important. Sometimes on the basis of the experience, the person who is taking decision, he takes the decision, and that is also an important factor. Not only the data, the past record, or whatever the analysis we are doing, that means all the numericals, all the quantitative techniques we are adopting, rather than sometimes we are taking help of our experience also. Sometimes a combination of plans may be selected instead of one best course. The manager will have to apply permutations and combinations and select the best possible course of action. So a combination of two plans also we can adopt. Implementation of the plan. So this is the ultimate thing. This is the step where the manager's function also come into picture. Now the step is concerned with putting the plan into action. That is doing what is required. So if there is a plan to increase the production, then more labor, more machinery will be required. Now, this step would also involve organizing for labor purchase of machinery. So, my plan is to increase the production. Now, that is planning. When I am implementing such plan, then some certain things will come. Like I have to increase the number of laborers, I have to increase the number of machine. So now these things are becoming important. Now the manager has to arrange for all these things. Then comes the follow-up action. Follow-up action means to see whether the plan is has become successfully means it is being successfully implemented or not. The activities are performed according to the schedule, whatever has been decided, and we have to monitor it. We have to monitor the plan, and monitoring the plan is equally important to ensure the objectives are achieved. Yes. So the first step was objective, and see, and the last step also the objective is coming. Now what we are doing? We are trying to match the objective and the result. Whether it is following up the objective, it is able to uh, fulfill the objectives or not. Then comes types of plans: single use and standing plans. An organization has to prepare a plan before making any decision related to business operation. So plans could be on the basis of the time. Single use means one time we are using, one time event or project that we are doing. So that will be called as single use plan. So it will not be repeated in future, means for a particular project if you have some plan. So that is very much time bound, means for a particular month or for a span of week we are making such plans. A project may sometimes be of only one day, such as organizing an event or a seminar or conference. Then also we are making some plans, so that is single use. These plans includes budgets. Budgets we are making for a particular then program of employee who are responsible for doing the work and contributing the single use plan. Then comes standing plan. A standing plan is used for activities that occur regularly over a period of time. So in the organization, there are some rules and regulations, the policies the organizations are uh, following. So these things are remaining. We are not some procedures that we are following. So these things are remaining. That means we are continuing with these plans. We are not changing it. So some methods, policies, procedures, all these things will come under this. Policies are general forms of standing plans that specifies the organization's response to a certain situation, like the admission policy of an educational institute. What is the admission policy of an institute? So that is remaining same. Every year or after 1 month or 2 months, it will get changed. It is not that like or not like that. Procedures, the procedure that we follow for producing a particular product, that is remaining same. After a long time, we if there is a change in the procedure that may happen, like we want to improvise something, introduce something new, or that we can do. Methods provide the manner in which a task has to be performed. Rules and regulations that is there for each and every institute, every organization. So that is remaining, means it is continuing. Single use and standing plans are part of operational planning process. Okay. The first step in planning is setting objectives. Objectives, therefore, can be said the desired future position of the organization. So that is fine. Strategy, policy. In detail, it is given each and every plan. Once we have made plans, so what we will do now, we have the second function, that is organizing. So if you want to make your plans fruitful, then we have to consider a few things like resources that is needed and optimal utilization of those resources. Those things we have to take care. So first of all, we have to do planning, and after that, we will we have means for the successful implementation of plans, we have to make we have to do organizing. Now, organizing function leads to the creation of organizational structure. So, or when we are doing organizing, we are doing what we are doing in case of organizing. We are looking for different types of resources, organizing those resources, and with the help of those resources, we will be achieving the objective. So, for that, what we have to do, we have to we have to accumulate those resources, we have to properly utilize it, and the organizing function when we will be doing, so ultimately we will be able to create a organizational structure. Organizational structure means what? That means we are framing a particular structure where like if we just look at to the chart of the organization, I think it will be much more clear. This one, this is a functional structure, or we can say this is a divisional and functional, and organizational chart, this one in detail. So so we are creating organizational chart structure. If you have the structure with you, then a proper clear picture will be before you, that who is under whom, that will be clear to you, who is at which position, that will be clear to you. So sorry. So we will be able to understand the interrelationship among different types of positions, and accordingly we can utilize our resources. So for the smooth functioning of the organization, we need to do this kind of organizational structure. So it will help the management to monitor whether the organization is running smoothly or not. Any problem if arises, it will be easy to communicate because there is a proper hierarchy. So this organizational structure is very much important one. So now organizing can be defined as the process that initiates implementation of plans by clarifying jobs and working relationships and effectively deploying resources for attainment. Like in the previous slide PDF, we have seen that for planning, what we are doing, suppose we have a plan that we want to increase the production. So what we are doing, we are increasing the number of labor. So when we are implementing, we have to make different changes. So when we are implementing the plans, so what we have to do, we have to clarify the job, that what kind of things are going to happen, and what are the changes are going to happen, and what is the working relationship, and how to utilize these resources that we have in our hand. So that we have to see. Now, steps in process of organizing. There is an example that 12 students work for the school library in the summer vacation. One afternoon, they are told to unload a shipment of new releases, stock the bookshelves, and then dispose of all waste. So these are the some tasks that would be done by the students. Now, if all the students decide that they will do it on their own way, so ultimately that will create a confusion. But if there is a supervisor who will uh, divide the work into groups, means he will divide the students into groups, and accordingly he will share the means they will share the work, and that means the works will be allocated to each and every one, each and every group. So in this way, if I assign the each group some uh, amount of work, so there will be there will be a proper coordination, and ultimately we will be able to do the work faster and in a better way. So each group will have some responsibilities, and they will do that, and ultimately we will be able to develop a reporting relationship among them, that who will report to whom that this work is done or having some problem. So ultimately there will be a smooth function. So identification and division of work, first of all, what we are doing, we are trying to understand what sort of work it is. Like in the example we have seen, that these are the things that we have to do. So as a whole, we have to have an idea, and now we have to break it down, that this is the ultimate thing that we want to do. But there are a lot of steps, lot of activities. So the ultimate activity is, suppose you want to plan for a trip. So for that, what we will do, that is a work. We will means planning is done, and now according to the plan we are doing something. Now for that, we have to book tickets. We have to book the uh, hotels. So what we are doing, we are breaking it down, that what are the things are there. We have to arrange for cars for local sightseeing. That also we have to do. So what we are doing, we are breaking down the total work into different activities. So identifying the thing, and we are dividing the work. The first step is in this process of organizing involves identifying and dividing the work that has to be done in accordance with the previously determined plans. The work is divided into manageable activities so that duplication can be avoided. Maybe three people are involved. Three people are doing arranging for cars. Not required. Only one will be there. He will be. He has to make some arrangement for this. If two three people will do it separately, so ultimately, what happen? What will happen? That all of them are doing the same thing. We are wasting time, energy, our resources, everything. So duplication should be avoided, and the burden of work is also be shared. Also will be shared, because one person will arrange for cars, one person will arrange for hotel, another will arrange for transportation, means for tickets and all. So these things are, the workload is distributed. only one person, single person will take care of everything. That is not the thing. So that is the first thing. All of you, please give your attendance in the chat box. Then comes departmentalization. On the when we have divided the work into different manageable activities, then after that, what we are doing, on the basis of nature of the work, we are creating a lot of groups. Similar types of work will be in one group. Like our exam control department is doing all the exam related activities. Hmm? So similar kind of work within a group. So that kind of departmentalization we have to do kind of activities. Then will be assignment of duties. So we have to assign the duties. It is necessary to define the work of different job positions and accordingly allocate work to various employees. So I have to allocate the work. I have to give the responsibility to all the employees. So jobs will be allocated to each and every members of each and every department. How we will be distributing that? On the basis of the skills, the knowledge, the experience, the competencies, the expertise the person is having. If that is matching with the requirement, then only I will give him the particular task to perform. In this way, we can get some efficient performance, effective, some excellent performance from people. So it is essential for effective performance that a proper match is made between the nature of job and ability of an individual. If a person is very good at technological, means very having very good technological skills, and if I just give him something that is related to human skill, maybe some negotiating activity has to be done. He has to do some negotiation. That the person is not so good at communicating with people. Maybe that person is very good at uh, doing some technological work. So that means this is a mismatch. So I have to select the right person for the right job. So there should be a match between the nature of the job and the ability of an individual. After that, establishing the authority and reporting relationship. So there will be a hierarchy and who is under whom, from where I have to take the order, I'll be accountable to whom. So that I have to know. That means where am I standing, my position, and who is there just before me, whom to report. So that will be clear to everyone. So that means that establishment of such clear relationships helps to create a hierarchical structure and helps in coordination among various departments. So if you are clear about it, so ultimately you will be able to frame a very good organizational structure where the relationship, work relationship is very clear. Who is having what kind of authority, who is reporting to whom, that will be clear to everyone.